Okay, Madam Chair, it looks like we still have some members joining, but we should have a quorum present. So we're ready to go when you are.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to call to order the May 5th, 2021 meeting of the TPA's Technical Advisory Committee. Pursuant to the TPA Emergency Order 2021-01, the Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. The TPA selected this platform because it does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to attend this meeting. Aside from the Zoom webinar platform that the participants will use to attend remotely, the public will have no discernible difference in their ability to watch the meeting from that of someone physically attending the meeting. Instruction to join this virtual meeting, as well as contact information for a TPA staff member to assist you, are provided in the published meeting agenda. Please note that although some members of the TAC are attending the meeting in person, committee members will be appearing at today's meeting remotely, either via webcam or telephone. Additionally, scheduled presenters and the TAC liaison will also be appearing via webcam or telephone. Staff, please call the roll so that we can establish a quorum.
For those members present in person, I just want to remind you to hit the button on your base to turn your microphone on. And then when it's red, it's live. And then for those that are attending virtually, just remember to unmute yourselves when I call your name. And if you're here on behalf of a representative, please state so. Jim Bell.
Here.
Maria Tahara. Gary Dunmeyer.
Here.
Richard Pereira.
Here.
Kenny Wilson.
Here.
Thomas Driscoll.
Yeah, on behalf.
Okay, CJ, thank you. Jamie Brown.
Here.
Natalie Crowley.
Here.
Kim Glass Castro.
Good morning, this is Iramis. I'm on behalf of Kim.
Thank you. Gary Sypek. Brian Davis.
Jorge Perez on behalf of Brian Davis.
Anna Bulowska.
Here.
Aaron Hoffman.
Here.
Thank you. Terrence Bailey is absent. Christopher Marsh. Joyce Kai.
Here.
Oh, thank you both.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And I did get your attendance, Joyce. Lorraine Cargill.
Vicki Gatanis for Lorraine Cargill.
Thank you. Kim Delaney.
Here.
Michael Odell.
Here.
Alex Hansen.
Here.
Kevin Bolbrick.
Here.
John Crane.
Here.
Modisum Alturk.
Melissa Ackard on behalf of Mo.
Thank you. And Kara Ferris.
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Staff, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Next item is minutes, approval of the minutes from April 7th, 2021. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes as stated. Aaron Hoffman.
Thank you.
Second.
So I have a motion by Aaron Hoffman and a second by Vicki Gatanis.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay,
I just want
moving.
to put in an abstention. I wasn't here for that last meeting, and this is my first meeting, so it's probably best I don't vote.
I'm sorry. Was that Gary Dunmeyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, general public comments and public comments on agenda items. I will summarize our public comment procedures for this virtual meeting. Written comments may be submitted online at the website provided in the agenda. Verbal comments may be made by virtual attendee using the raise hand feature in the Zoom platform. Lastly, a verbal and/or written comment may be provided by an in-person attendee submitting a comment card available at the welcome table. Staff, have any general comments been received?
No, Madam Chair.
Next agenda item, comments from the chair and member comments. First, I would like to welcome Kim Glass Castro, Iramis Cabrera, Kevin Volbrick, Christine Perdomo, Gary Dunmeyer, Amanda Radigan, and Patrick Bartholomew. I'm sorry if I mispronounced any names, as the newest appointments on the TAC. And I also have one other comment. We did receive an email last week from staff inviting us, once we got our agenda, to reach out to our TAC liaison for any questions or comments we have. And I would urge all members to take advantage of that process, whether you need a question answered or you want to prepare staff to maybe answer questions for you at a meeting. It will make for a much smoother meeting, and this is an opportunity for you to get your information up front. If any committee member has a comment for the committee, please utilize the raise hand function of the Zoom platform and ask to be recognized, and then remember to unmute your microphone once you are recognized. Do we have any hands raised?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll move on. Next item is the TAC liaison report. Connor, I'd like you to please provide an update.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And good morning, everyone. My name is Connor Campobasso. I'm a lead planner here at the Palm Beach TPA, and I'm also the TAC liaison. And I'll get right into the liaison report. The first item here is the Florida Local Technical Assistance Program Center will be hosting 3 webinars. The first is Designing for Complete Streets, and that will be held early to mid-May, with the first day actually tomorrow. FHWA, Emergency Relief Program Training, will have a webinar one day next week. The Basic Highway Plan Reading webinar will be held in early to mid-June. If you're interested in any of these webinars, you can visit floridaltap.org to register. The month of May is Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. If you are interested in learning more about that, there's some information at ridesmartflorida.com/May. The month of May is also National Bicycle Month. If you would like to get out and ride, we have highlighted some events and programs for you in the report. The first thing you can do is actually sign up for Love to Ride, or Florida Love to Ride Challenge. It's a great program that encourages you and others that you know to get out there and ride your bicycle, and you can even win some prizes. To register, you can visit lovetoride.net/Florida. The next event here is National Bike to School Day, which is actually today. Although it's currently happening now, you are encouraged to celebrate any day in May that best fits your schedule. For information on that, you can register at walkbike2school.org. And the last event here that I have listed is the National Bike to Work Week, which will be held May 17th through the 23rd. And National Bike to Work Day will be held on the 21st of that same week. For more information on that, you can take a look at bikeleague.org/bike month. The next TPA Governing Board meeting will be held on May 20th at 9 a.m., both in person and virtually. To view the agenda packet and meeting details, please visit palmbeachtpa.org/board. The Bicycle Friendly Business Program is recognizing employers for their efforts to encourage a more welcoming atmosphere for bicycling employees, customers, and the community. The application window is open now through June 10th. To apply, please visit bikeleague.org/business. Municipalities are encouraged to apply for walk-friendly community designation through June 15th. If you're interested in that, please visit walkfriendly.org. And the last item here is DOT is offering local enforcement agencies funding for high visibility enforcement, or HVE, to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis. So if you're interested in that or would like more information, you can visit alerttodayflorida.com/HVE. And that is the end of my liaison report. I'll pass it over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do any committee members have any comments or questions on the liaison report? I don't see anyone in-house. Do we have anyone with a raised hand?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, there are no action items on this agenda today. So now we'll move on to informational items. The first being the draft fiscal year FY 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program. I'd like to invite Jason Price, TPA Tip Coordinator, to present this item.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for all in attendance, both virtually and in person. So today I'll go over as an informational item, the draft tip for fiscal year 22 through 26. And the tip document, it's a 5-year document that will cover 2022 through 2026 and to list all of the projects programmed by FDOT in their work program, as well as other regional and local projects. So just to start off and to remind the group, the TPA mission is to collaboratively plan, prioritize, and fund the transportation system. And here today, by way of this, by the draft tip document, we're focusing on the funding portion of the TPA's mission. And we'll start by reviewing how the tip is comes to be constructed, and it starts with the TPA priority list that's approved back in last year of July 2020, and then from there, the FDOT, we submit those projects to the FDOT to evaluate available funding and costs. From there, they'll incorporate those projects that we submit to FDOT into their draft tentative work program that was approved this year in January 2021. This draft tentative work program is then provided to the TPA for us to draft our tip document that you see before you today. And that what will follow is next month, we'll provide to you and present to you the final tip document for formal adoption. After its formal adoption in next month in June 2021, we'll begin to operate under that document in the months to follow. Now, to review how this tip is formulated and constructed, how it's laid out, it's formulated, it's broken down into sections with TPA priority projects that include the state road modifications, the local initiatives grant program, and the transportation alternatives grant program. Next is the FDOT projects that include SIS capacity projects. There's other projects that are other DOT and local projects, as well as the other modes of transportation, airport, railroad, and seaport. And then there's maintenance and operations for major maintenance and operation and maintenance for roadway and transit. Now, in both the executive summary and the full version of the draft tip document, there is a collection of summary tables that will give you an overview of all the projects within these sections and within the TPA priority list sections. And so this is an illustration of how to read the summary table, starting with the year and the rank that the project was programmed, followed by you'll see the FM number, the location, description, and then the total cost by fiscal year, starting with 2022 through 2026 is what the tip covers. Then additionally, there are the remaining needs for the project to be completed, as well as any updated notes for the project in terms of anything that's happened over the life of the project while it's within the TIP document. Now this year we're asking for a couple of requests from the TAC and BTPAC as you review the document. And the first one is to review and confirm accuracy of the projects for the TPA priority list. And when you review the projects, to pay close attention to the funding and the funding horizon within the 5 years that are listed within the TIP document. If you happen to find any corrections within those projects, to contact the representative that you see on the screen for each of those particular programs. The first being state road modifications. That's your TAC liaison here, Connor Campobasso. And then myself for local initiatives, Jason Price. And then Alyssa Frank for the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program. Now, in reviewing the projects within those programs, if you're a lead agency of one of those particular programs for a particular project, we ask that you confirm inclusion of the project in your capital improvement program to illustrate that you have programmed the funds necessary to design and construct the project. Keeping in mind that this is the local initiatives and transportation alternatives is a reimbursement program. And so the lead agency is required to first fund the program and then submit for reimbursement. So the next request for the group is to review other DOT and Palm Beach County projects that might be in your area. And this is an opportunity to request a scope modification for the funded projects that are listed in the TIP. Now, this is an opportunity for you to look for safety and multimodal improvement opportunities within these funded projects to recommend a scope modification if it can be accommodated. And what you see here on the list or on the screen are the two contact people for the state roads. For state roads, it's Connor Campobasso. Here is your TAC liaison. And then for Palm Beach County roads, it is David Ricks. Now, to facilitate the review of the projects that are in the TIP, we've incorporated the draft TIP projects for fiscal year 22 through 26 on our interactive web map that's hosted on our website, which is palmbeachtpa.org/map. So when you go to that link, the map will pop up and you'll see at the very top, there are two layers. One is the adopted TIP projects, and those are the ones that are in our current TIP that we're operating under, which is from fiscal year 21 through 25. And the one to focus on is the draft TIP projects from 22 to 26. And you'll see that when you click on the table of contents, they're broken down by year 22 through 26. When you click on a project, what you see on the image on the right-hand side here is a pop-up box or an information box that will give you some of the details about that project. So feel free to go and view that map and check out the projects. So now I'll go, this is a bar chart illustration of the total funding in the work program in the TIP. And it's broken down by the project section that you see on the left-hand side. The amount of funding within each of these section is then broken down by the funding source, which is either federal, state, and local. And you can see by the SIS capacity projects that there's a considerable amount of state funding, and some of that state funding, included in that state funding, is the turnpike projects and turnpike revenue. And I'll review some of the turnpike projects later on in the presentation. So to begin, I'm going to start with going over the 3 TPA TPA priorities, and the first is the state road modification projects. Now, this has a 5-year target of approximately 114 million for federal and state funds, and we see upwards of 181 million funded within this TIP document from 22 to 26. The first major highlight to note is the State Route 80 lighting project has funded for construction through fiscal year 26, with design beginning in 22. The next is Atlantic Avenue. There was some right-of-way funding added in 2026. And then for US 1 from Palmetto Park to North Lake Boulevard, there's transit shelters that have had construction funding added for fiscal year 25. There's also several Boca Raton and Palm Beach County signals that have been programmed as part of the State Road Modifications program for design in fiscal year 2026. And lastly, there is construction in 2022 programmed for State Route 7 from Okeechobee Boulevard to North Lake Boulevard. In addition to those highlights, there are some projects within the state road modifications that have been delayed or not programmed, and those are listed here on the screen. The first being the Tri-Rail extension to Jupiter has been delayed to 2023, and Atlantic Avenue from State Route 7 to Lyons Road, the widening has been delayed to fiscal year 24. And lastly, transit signal priority has not been funded for the Lake Worth Road corridor. Just going to take some water for a second. So now we'll move on to the 2 grant programs administered by the TPA. The first being the Local Initiatives Grant Program. Now, this is an annual competitive grant program that we administer each year, and there's a 5-year target of about 100 million in federal and state funds, and we see approximately 79 million being programmed within the TIP from 22 to 26, with the remaining of those funds on the state road modification projects, as mentioned earlier. Some of those highlights, which is an unfortunate highlight, but the 5 new projects that were awarded last year into the program were not funded due to insufficient funding. And that insufficient funding was due to the board direction to fund the State Road 80 lighting project. One project that was approved and programmed was the Tri-Rail purchasing of a new train car. They were awarded 2.5 million as a match for TRIP funds, totaling 5 million to purchase that train car. And lastly, there was the acceleration of the town of Palm Beach signals for fiscal year 22. So in addition to those highlights, there is some highlights to note for this upcoming year for 2022. And I've created this for the construction highlights of things you can expect to see next year. And the first is a 4-foot bike lane and 10-foot shared use path along Indian Town Road from US 1 to A1A. And Palm Tran plans to replace approximately 40 bus stops in 22. And there's a few other ones here. The repurposing of a lane and to add a designated bike lane and sidewalks to Westgate Avenue. There's a separated bike lane planned along Lyons Road and Sandsbury Way from Forest Hill Boulevard to Okeechobee Boulevard. And then there's also some adaptive signal control systems along Yamato Road from Jog Road to I-95. And that includes 16 intersections in downtown. And lastly, as I mentioned before, the town of Palm Beach will connect 4 signals that will be incorporated into the Palm Beach County signal system once it's completed. Now I'll review the second grant program administered by the Palm Beach TPA, and that is the Transportation Alternatives Program. This is also an annual competitive grant program with a shorter time horizon, not of 5 years, but of 3 years. And this funding is dedicated to construction only. And so it has a 3-year target of 9 million in federal and state funds. And this year we see upwards of 13 million program within the tip, the draft tip before you today. So these highlights, one of the main highlights is that all the 4 projects that were submitted last year and incorporated and approved have been fully funded in construction for fiscal year 2024. I list the projects here on the bottom. I'm now going to go over some of the construction highlights that you can expect next year within this program. The first are sidewalks and a shared use path in the Northmore neighborhood. The next is several improvements on the Lake Worth Road corridor. What you see here is separated bike lanes, a mid-block crossing, and some enhanced crosswalks, all near the Palm Beach College entrance. Next is the construction of a 10-foot shared use path as part of the Clear Lake Trail connecting Okeechobee Boulevard to Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. And then the last 3 here, there's a 12-foot shared use pathway on Dillman Trail from Forest Hill to Dillman Road, and a 5-foot sidewalk and some pedestrian lighting on Bridgman Drive, Wellington Road, and Prairie Road. And lastly, 24 pedestrian activated flashes and ADA crossing enhancements on A1A Ocean Boulevard from Donald Ross Road to Indiantown Road. Now we'll transition back to some of the FDOT projects for the strategic intermodal system. And these are some quick highlights for I-95 interchanges that are part of this draft tip. And the first being the delay of design for Hypoluxo Road, also the delay of construction for Indiantown Road. There's 41 million added to construction for North Lake Boulevard. And lastly, there's 13 million added for construction for 45th Street. And in addition to the strategic intermodal system for FDOT, there's also some turnpike projects to highlight here. And a lot of these highlights, it begins at Palm Beach County line and it goes within these segments all the way up to Beeline Highway. And you can see most of these are widenings from 4 lanes to 8 lanes. And all of this funding is through the turnpike revenue source. So I won't read all of them, but in general, it's widening the turnpike from 4 lanes to 8 lanes along these segments. Now, there are also some construction highlights to review for 2022 that are upcoming. And some of these are roadway resurfacing projects. From US 41, south of Shirley Drive to East Main Street, Palmetto Park Road from Glades to Crawford Boulevard, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, south of Okeechobee to SR 80. That also includes ADA ramps. There's roadway capacity projects that are also programmed for construction in 22 that include Beeline Highway from North Lake Boulevard to Blue Heron Boulevard, 60th Street from Avocado Boulevard to east of 20th Avenue, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard from M Canal to south of Orange Boulevard. The next is Congress Avenue to North Lake Boulevard. And there's a few more here. I not to read the entire slide. There's some bridge projects as well. So the last one here is the Royal Park Bridge over the intercoastal waterway. So that concludes the presentation. I know it's a lot of information. If there's any questions, we'll take them at this time.
Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do any committee members have any comments?
I have Jamie Brown with his hand raised.
Okay, Jamie?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Quick question, Jason. So for the 5 projects that weren't funded in the LI for last year, it was Lake Worth Beach, 2 for Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, and Palm Tran. I believe I'd asked before about it, but what's the plan for those in relation to what was submitted this year? Are those getting any kind of preference, or how's that going to work?
Yes. Hopefully you got my communication regarding that in terms of those projects that were not funded in the previous cycle will be prioritized ahead of the projects that were submitted and that will be approved this year. After they're approved this year, we're still going through the vetting process for this year's grant cycle projects, but since last year, those projects were not funded, they'll be prioritized first, or at least given priority over the projects that were submitted this year, provided that there's funding to allocate towards the projects that from last year.
And that will be what you're putting together for next month, or what's the time frame on that?
Repeat the question for me.
What's the time frame when you'll actually be doing that? Like you said, you guys are still reviewing the LI submissions for this year.
Right. We'll know which projects will make it into the TIP document from this grant cycle, but how the funding will play out for either last year or this year, I think would be in the next TIP document from 23 to 27, because this draft document has the funding that you'd see from 22 to 26. Is that correct? So the list of priority projects will come in July, but of next year, of this year, of fall of this year. So you'll know about the funding in the fall when the draft tentative work program comes out. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
I have a few hands raised, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure no one in person. So I have Maria Tahara, followed by Natalie Crawley, followed by CJ. And I can remind you as we go through again, but Maria, you're next.
Maria, check your microphone.
On mute. Okay, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
It's
Yes.
okay, yes.
Yes, I was talking to myself. The roadway resurfacing, you mentioned Palmetto Park from Glades Road to Crawford Boulevard. Glades and Palmetto are parallel roads, so you need to go back and check from where to where.
Okay, so the limits are inaccurate.
Yeah, Palmetto doesn't meet with Glades. They are parallel roads. So I'm not sure from where to where. And I wasn't aware of that project, so.
Okay. I want to make sure I get. Okay. I'll look at the TIP document and confirm the project. So you're not aware of the roadway resurfacing on Palmetto Park Road from Glades Road to Crawford Boulevard? Okay.
Okay, you cannot go from Glades because it doesn't meet with Glades.
Okay. It could
But-
be an error in
Yes.
what I provided on the slide, but I'll look at it in the in the draft tip document to make sure that I have the limits correct in the draft document.
Okay, and if you please let me know, since this is in Boca, I don't know whether it's gonna be in the city of Boca or outside, but if you will let me know where it is, I'll appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, Natalie?
John Crane would like to.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
just going to I was looking in the TIP, the draft TIP here. It says it's in on table 4, and it does say those same limits. So it's project number 202-29901.
Okay. So I'll follow up with you, Maria, on that particular project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks. I just have a few comments, and I was just seeking additional information. So I don't need the answers now, but before the final, it'd be great to be able to get some clarification, Jason. My first comment is on page 18. It notes for project 201-89917, an $8 million Donald Ross Road bridge improvement, and it's just noted as equipment. And I would just be interested to find out what that is a little bit more. You don't need to answer now, but that would be something that I would like to just gain some additional information on. My second comment is to, I don't know, is Vicky on from the Turnpike, or is anybody on from the Turnpike?
Madam Chair, I do have Vicky present. I can allow her to talk if that's okay, Madam
It's
Chair.
okay. It's just more of a comment, and this is just something that we know that the Turnpike improvements as an overall project has been delayed, but there was a major project that involved a proposed off ramp onto PGA, but the way that the projects are described in the tip, it doesn't isolate these off ramps. It just talks about the widening. So it's just a request to the Turnpike Authority that going forward, if there is an opportunity to call out specific major improvements, such as an off ramp, that be noted. So in this particular case, it would be the segment from Beeline to Indiantown, and the proposed off ramp. It's been delayed because we've met with the Turnpike Authority, but going forward, they did indicate that it is on the books for the future. So I had also mentioned it to some of the staff members that we had met with Turnpike, but it would really help since we see the tip a lot and we participate actively as a city on the tip. I would request that the Turnpike, when they give you the information, that they be a little bit more specific, if it's possible, on some of these broader projects, if it includes something significant, such as a proposed new off-ramp or similar. That's another.
Great feedback. Great feedback. Thank you so much, Ms. Crowley. I'll make notes and let our PM, Brandon Bobo, and our planning manager, Carol Scott, that you met with, know about that. Remind them.
Okay, yeah, great. And I had mentioned it to Brandon as well, and he had said, but so I'm just kind of bringing it up again to
Sure.
To mention it so everybody's
Yes.
aware. Everybody's in the loop. Thank you.
Okay.
I have another comment on the North Lake I-95 improvements. So it looks like this is being now constructed and set for construction in 2026. And it was previously, to my understanding, set for 2024. So, but it's not noted in table 1 as a modification. So I was just wondering, is that an internal inconsistency? Is the project definitely is it now being again pushed out to 2026? Because it was our understanding that these would kick off in 2024 in terms of construction. And I know John Crane's on. I don't know if you can answer now. If not, another meeting is also fine when we see the final document. John, do you know?
Do you have an FM number for that project?
I can. Let me just pull it up right now because I have it on the tip. If you bear with me.
We found it. Thank you.
You got it? Okay, thank you. And then same deal for the special use ramp on the I-95. So I know that you all spun off that southbound ramp, which is great. Thank you for that. But now it's noted as 2024. And I think that's also, I think previously it was 2023. And we really, really, really want that special use ramp. You know, we advocate as a city to have that constructed just because of that backup on the ramp, on the southbound ramp flyover. And we just have a tremendous amount of projects in our queue that are going up around our TOD, and that southbound ramp is critical to improve that special use lane. So whatever you can do to look at that and help advance that, we would encourage that. That's scheduled for 2024. I thought it was 2023. And then my only other final comment is just on the resurfacing projects. I just want to compliment DOT on their outreach on some of these major resurfacing projects. They're going through a RRR project right now on PGA. And, you know, we were able, through their communication and through their process, we were able to send them our mobility plan, which has been adopted by council. And it's my understanding that they're incorporating several elements from our mobility, and they're adding, you know, green paint and bike lanes in certain conflict areas and intersections. And I just really thank the DOT for that outreach, that process that they have. I would encourage all agencies to, you know, use resurfacing as a major opportunity to include mobility improvements. And you know, there's a ton of resurfacing projects on here. And so, you know, whether it's the county or DOT on future projects, we would love to really coordinate closely with you all on some of these and try to get as many mobility improvements within these resurfacing projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Natalie. That does reinforce kind of what I said at the beginning, where taking the opportunity to look at the projects within your area to identify safety or multimodal improvements that could be incorporated in future resurfacing projects, either on county road or state roads, and to follow up with us to see if those kind of improvements could be incorporated. And you can see that it works.
Natalie, did you have anything else?
No, thank you. I'm finished.
Okay, I think CJ was
Yes,
next.
and followed by Melissa and then Aramis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In also appear in the January agenda, we understand that the fall of the CIS capacity enhancement project near the I-95 interchange has been postponed for 1 year, including Indian Town adding land project. I'm specific referred to 4397581. And since then, the town has a concern on this postponement, mainly because of the daily traffic is also congested as usual, and currently Indian Town Road also carry the highest amount of the peak outflow on Indian Town Road. So this postponement will incur the congestions, if not further enhance the congestion level throughout the whole for another years. So we would like to get some clarifications about this specific the postponement. We understand basic reason is the coordination of the General Avenue, but I can also see a lot of state road capacity enhancement project did not get postponed. So since this particular roadway got the highest, very high the priorities, so we have to get some understanding and possibly see if there's some possibility that this postponement can be reverted, decision on that. And the other comment I have is in the descriptions of this project, only talk about the eastbound constructions. But I believe in this actual scope of work, this also including the westbound landing addition as well. So if possible, can FDOT clarify on that and add the correct language into the description?
Okay. Thank you, CJ. Next is Melissa.
Hi, I was just researching the question that Maria had, and Glades Road does actually out west curve into Palmetto Park Road. So the project on Palmetto Park Road resurfacing starts in unincorporated Palm Beach County as the farthest western limit, and then it comes all the way up to Crawford. So just to clarify that question earlier.
Thank you. Next, Aramis.
Good morning. This is for the CIP local programs for the fiscal year 22-26. We request 5 projects to be included on the list. We want to make sure that it is included, that you receive it.
Did you get that, Jason? Oh, okay.
I didn't understand the question too clearly. Something about the lead agencies, maybe?
No, this is for the local program for the CIP 22-26. We request 5 projects to be included. We want to make sure that Jason got it and it's included on the list.
They had 5
Yeah.
projects they asked to be included.
Okay, yeah. For
Palm
Palm Springs. Yes, I did receive the request and I will incorporate them in the final draft.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have Jamie with his hand raised again.
Okay, Jamie.
Yeah, I had one other question. On page 23, 15-3, the construction of 30 new palm trans shelters. I know, Jason, a couple months ago, you had sent me those locations when I requested those. Thank you very much. If those aren't listed anywhere, that might be beneficial for other members to see if any of those fall within their jurisdiction. But I also see that 17.4, the replacement of 40 existing shelters. Can we get a list of where those are going to be as well?
Yes.
That is all.
Sure.
Okay.
And I don't have any other hands raised.
Okay. We have no one in-house either. Thank you very much, Jason, for your presentation.
Thank you.
So move on to the next item, the draft pedestrian and bicycle fatalities for January through March in 2021. I'd like to invite Andrew up, the TPA Deputy Director of Program Development, to present this item.
Good morning, everyone. Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Program Development. I just want to make a few more notes about the last presentation you just saw for the Transportation Improvement Program. Once again, Jason did provide a link for the online map. And so that's a great resource for you all to look at. And really, that's going to be the public facing way to look at these projects. And the Zoom is to go to that map. So we'd really appreciate your feedback to make sure everything is correct on that. And then also, Jason sent out an email recently to include any of your local projects. And I know some members just asked about that. So we include those in here as well. And so that's your opportunity to get that to us so we can incorporate that also into this document. I know recently we talked about the sort of earmarks coming up with the new federal transportation funding bill. And a lot of those requests for those required to be included into the transportation improvement program to apply for that funding. So, we encourage you all to get ahead of that and to put those products into our tip now so we can have that for future potential opportunities like that. Okay, so what we have for you today for this agenda item is informational purposes, and this is our draft pedestrian bicycle fatality summary. So the TPA governing board tasks us with one of our tasks being to provide more of a summary of our pedestrian and bicycle fatalities, more on a reoccurring basis in sort of in a more timely manner. And really what we're trying to get at this is to really hone in on what are the real causes of fatalities for our most vulnerable users. And so this is really just a preliminary draft for you all that we just wanted some feedback on. If you have more things you'd like to incorporate, this send it our way. You can send it to me by email or reach out to Connor, your liaison. And in your packet, you're provided two pieces of information. One was just the map of the fatal and pedestrian bicycle crashes over the past few months. And so you'll see, I believe, 18 of those going from January to March of 2021. This is from Signal 4 Analytics, and we're showing the pedestrian and bicycle fatalities. And then we're providing also a review form based on a crash report. And so what this review form is really a quick summary, a cursory review of one of those crashes. And we're really wanting to provide one-page summaries for every single fatal pedestrian bicycle crash. So what are we wanting to put on this review form? Really, it's supposed to be a quick summary of the police report. Right now, that police report is 3 pages long. And you can see my little graphic here. It's really fuzzy, but I did that on purpose because also some of this information is sensitive. So what we're trying to do is just take the non-sensitive information, make it in an easily understood way on the summary of this report, and then provide that crash diagram. And at the end, have staff observations about the details of this crash and then potential actions. So really, we would have a one-pager for every single vulnerable pedestrian bicycle fatality crash, and then what are true potential actions that we can go with to make changes based on whatever happened with this crash. So I do have an example for you. I want to go through that example that was provided in the backup. And so this was a pretty recent crash. This was in March of 2021 that happened closer to the end of the day after that time change. And it's at 7:00 p.m. And this is up on Indiantown Road by Loxahatchee Drive. So that first part is really just general information about the crash. And then it goes into individual information of who was involved. So the persons involved, whether it's drivers, and then the types of other users, pedestrians or bicyclists. In this case, there was 2 bicyclists crossing the roadway southbound in the crosswalk. So this involved 3 people total. And then you can see the types of the age range and then the conditions and then the vision. For this one, it was reported in the police report that the driver had glare under the vision, and there's no distracted driving, drugs or alcohol shown on the police report, and then the severity of the injuries. So there was a fatality in this one, and then there's also a serious injury for another bicyclist. The next section was the crash diagram. And in this crash diagram is really just I know it's hard to see on this slide because it's a little snippet, but provides just an understanding of location of events and what happened through that. And then the observation, this is all staff material that we put in here. So the above stuff was really from the crash report. And then the observations and potential actions is part that staff would fill out. And so the observations on this one was that vehicle 1 driver ran a red light at sunset. Glare was a contributing circumstance. So they're heading westbound while these 2 bicyclists were crossing the roadway and they ran a red light. So although it was reported that was not distracted, they entered the intersection at a high speed well after the red light phase began. And so from that, when we have observations made, then we would assess countermeasures, both when it comes to design and then working more with law enforcement and other stakeholders for other types of actions to also include as countermeasures. But for actions that the staff had on this one, TPA funds and Fdot installs high contrast yellow back plates on east-west signal heads to improve visibility at sunrise, sunset. So hopefully better visibility for those signals when there is glare during the mornings and then in the evenings when the sun is in your face. And the second one is TPA advocates and Florida legislature increases mandatory penalties for distracted driving and vehicular homicide. So, and that's more of a statewide, like I said, other types of policy considerations. So what we're really trying to do from this is, it doesn't have to get into the specifics of this crash really, it's really about the layout of this. Is it sort of an understandable item for you all and maybe for elected officials that will show it to as well? And really, is this the sort of information that we can really run with and have good takeaways and start making actions in a timely manner for all vulnerable, fatal crashes? I think that's all I have for you. Yes.
Wow. John, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to, I think that's a great thing that you're going to do. You know, that's perfect step right towards Vision Zero. So I commend you all for taking that step. I would, I guess, caution or maybe, you know, suggest in terms of potential actions that there be some sort of field investigation with the local municipality, just to make sure. I don't know if there's a, like, if I see this, we're not getting into the specifics of this particular one, but if we make a capital suggestion for correcting something that we're not sure is the issue, you know, we want to make sure we spend the limited dollars appropriately. So just I would include that as always kind of type of a piece of the next steps or the actions recommended, right?
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, are there any public comments on this item?
It's okay. No, I do not have any public comments and I do have a few hands raised.
Okay, where do we start?
So I have Alex, Melissa, and CJ.
Okay, Alex, good morning.
Yes, morning. Yeah, first I want to commend the TPA staff for this effort. I think is great what they're doing, a lot of very useful information. Andrew, if you could just go back to the first slide that you had, the one with the map, the county-wide map. I do have a comment on that.
Sure, I'll stop or I'll get up there for you.
So the comment that I have, while the map that you submitted is useful to give just a general overview of the location, I think that including a table, a summary table that is kind of next to the map would be quite beneficial. And again, if you can show the map and just to kind of explain why, some of the locations that you are showing in the map are difficult to pinpoint. So for example, I saw a couple of locations there where there were some pedestrian fatalities. And I'm not sure, for example, one of those, is that in the southern end of West Palm Beach? Is that in Lake Worth? I cannot tell from this map. Is that on Dixie? Did that happen on Dixie Highway? Did it happen on Olive? Did it happen in Georgia? It could be any of those roads just based on the scale of the map and the size of the dot. I know generally where it could be, but if you have a table, just a summary table that lists basically that and just the location, which road and which intersection this happened, at least that gives us a quick overview. And then if we want more details, we can go into the detail sheets that you provided. So again, I'm just suggesting to include that summary table. Again, you can see it from here. There's one that is very close to Intracoastal, south of Forest Hill, but I'm not sure if that location is, it could be southern West Palm Beach, it could be Lake Worth, and again, it could be any of those roads that I mentioned. I think that applies for many of these locations. So maybe a summary table just indicating again which location and the intersecting roadway. At least that will give us a quick overview, and then we can get into more details with the detailed review form that you also provided.
Thank you. Yes, we can.
Otherwise, great effort. I think this will make it easier for us to review.
This is an interactive map?
This one is not. So we were looking to incorporate this into the packets quarterly. And so this would not be, but we do have, and we're working to clean up more so the crashes on our interactive map online as well.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Melissa?
Hi. We had a chance to review this beforehand in our office here in the traffic division. And I know Andrew works closely with Fadi Nasser, our traffic engineering operations manager, who oversees our safety program here in our crash database. And, we have a similar approach that we're taking. We are analyzing the crash trends for both fatalities and severe injury crashes. And we are creating very similar reports. And, if there is interest, we could prepare our report for these meetings as well and provide an update if that's something that you all are interested in.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. And I've been reaching out to Fadi, and Fadi sent me his spreadsheet as well. And it looks like you're going the same direction. So yes, we definitely want to coordinate on that from a staff perspective and provide that to the committees.
Thank you. Anything else, Melissa?
No.
Okay. Thank you. CJ?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I would like to render my appreciation to the TPA for doing this. I would say not everyone has access to the Signal 4. So if you could extract the useful information like this and post it to the public to see, this is wonderful. But I would like to also take this particular opportunity to talk about this particular incident. We have specifically requested for the back plate to be installed on the every signalized intersection along Indian Town Road, the east and west major corridor, next to prevent the impact or reduce the impact of a direct sunlight before, but it might be the burden of the finance or some other reason it got ignored. So since I have Melissa here, I would like to specifically request this the work to be done as soon as possible as well. I commute every day on this corridor, and I specifically can sense and take the direct the impact due to the lack of the backplate. I'm not saying the backplate installation of the backplate can resolve it, but it really substantially cut down the impact of the direct sunlight and really help you to see the indications much more clearly. So I would urge the cooperation of the between the county and the TPA in terms of the funding to facilitate this. Thank you.
Just to add to that, we do have that as our standard now. So all brand new signals will have backplates. The challenge we have is there's wind loading requirements, and as you add more things to these structures, they no longer meet those requirements, and in some cases have to be rebuilt. And so adding a backplate could create, it sounds like an easy fix, but in some situations, it actually turns into a much larger project where you're having to replace the entire structure. So I think that's actually where, I second, what John said earlier, we need to do more field investigations to determine what the recommendation is and have those things programmed accordingly. And in this case, on Indian Town Road, we would need to coordinate with the DOT, and they would need to help us with, doing that structural analysis and funding that enhancement, because that's not part of the county's responsibility on Indian Town Road.
I thought the back brake can be love, isn't it?
Sorry, you mean like louvered or?
Yeah, can.
Not that I'm aware of. I can look into that, but that's my understanding on some of the challenges that we're having with these recommendations is that, we would like to do them, but we would then have to have much more funding to meet the other requirements we're supposed to be meeting with wind loading.
Understand, thank you.
John, you had a comment? Okay, any other hands raised?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Next on the agenda are administrative items. These are informational items only. There are no staff presentations unless requested by a committee member. Do we have any requests for presentations?
No, Madam Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. I didn't do it earlier, but I wanted to request information about in light of the certain changes in emergency orders, or whether or not we have to wear a mask or come to a meeting. Could you give us an update on next month's meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair. So if you recall, and it is something we send out to the TAC members before each meeting, in January, the governing board did give the TPA staff direction to issue an emergency order that allowed its advisory committees to meet virtually as long as Palm Beach County is in a state of emergency. Because of the recent executive orders from the governor, the county reviewed it and they determined that their emergency orders do not have to end with, I believe it was Executive Order 102. So they are still in a state of emergency, so the TPA can continue to conduct its advisory committee meetings in a virtual hybrid format. If that were to change, we would let you know. And unfortunately, because the county can only renew it weekly, we do check it weekly, and it could change at any point in time. Your other question about the facial coverings, and most of the time it's social distancing as well. The TPA has issued an updated memo on this matter internally to staff, and it is effective for all meetings, but we have mandated that masks are required for any of our board or committee meetings, and essentially any meetings that we hold with over 10 people. So if you do come to a TPA meeting, you will be required to wear a mask.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our next TAC meeting is scheduled for June 2nd, 2021. Thank you for your patience with us as we conducted this committee meeting today. At this time, our committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.